Welcome to the 8th edition of World Intellectual Property Forum.
So greetings to everyone who is attending this session. I'm myself Dr. Archana Chugh, an associate professor at IIT Delhi. I have been working in the field of synthetic biology, especially with respect to the governance issues, the socio-ethical issues, and the intellectual property regime for the novel life science technologies, so specifically on nanotechnology and synthetic biology. So today I will be talking in very brief about the role of IP regime in synthetic biology. We will assess that how the intellectual property regime would be in this advanced field of synthetic biology. So just give me a moment. I'm going to share my slides with you, and then from there we'll go on. So as I mentioned to you that I would be talking about the role of IP regime in the novel life science technologies, particularly in synthetic biology. Synthetic biology, in brief, I will talk about, as many of you may not be aware of that what is synthetic biology. It is basically a user-defined biology or a designer biology. It is considered to be custom-made biology because here we have already decided that what features that molecule will have or that particular organism will have. So it is also called as designer biology, intentional biology, or constructive biology, or it is also considered to be natural engineering, or under the synthetic genomics it can be considered. So synthetic biology can be employed for creating artificial cells. It can be used for developing molecular modules or developing synthetic biomolecules, because if naturally occurring biomolecules are in lesser abundance in nature, they can be synthesized by using the synthetic biology techniques, and it can be also used for the research purposes. So there are various applications of synthetic biology in pharmaceutics as well as agriculture, as we can see here. In the case of the biodrugs, we can use synthetic biology based strategies for vaccine development, and which is very important in the current COVID times, and also for developing the designer crops for better food production, food quality, and as well as the energy crops. So the first organism which has been claimed to be synthesized using synthetic biology approaches by Dr. Craig Venter is named as Mycoplasma and is likely called as Synthia. So this has a minimalist genome, and currently there are huge financial investments which are being made in the field of bioenergy and drug production, which is based on the synthetic biology strategies. The patents have been filed, granted. The first patent which was filed, which was related to synthetic biology, was in 2007. And as here you can see that the universities are taking lead in the field of synthetic biology, which is also indicating in the US that the synthetic biology is also currently at the research and development stage. And companies are also taking interest, followed by the research institutions and the government laboratories. And this is the distribution of the synthetic biology-based research, which is taking place in the USA. And in the case of Europe, again, the same pattern. We observe that most of the work is still being carried out at the university stage. Companies are also investing. However, research institutions are also gaining interest in the synthetic biology. And you can see the distribution of synthetic biology-based laboratories in the Europe, Italy, Portugal, France. All these are showing interest in the field of synthetic biology. So there are various socio-economic issues which are related to synthetic biology, whether it is the regulatory affairs or the concerns related to biosafety and biosecurity. All these anyways are going to influence the intellectual property regime at the territorial level. And since we know that synthetic biology is a dual-use technology, it brings risks as well as benefits to the society. And there is a need to create consumer awareness, biosecurity, and biosafety. issues are there. It can be used for bioweapons. It can also create exotic species that can completely disturb the ecosystem. Therefore, there is a need for the assessment of the governance of the synthetic biology, and at the same time, the IP regime also needs to be protected. Requires to be protected, and we have patents as the tool. The copyrights may be employed for protecting the softwares, and also there could be a completely new, different system, which may be a sui generis system, which is currently under debate. And at the same time, there are various other strategies which have been employed to understand the intellectual property regime in the field of the synthetic biology. Here, I'm just going to talk about the patents. As we can see, while we were carrying out the patent landscaping, we found that the gene components and the methods of synthesis, they took the lead among the various other categories which are associated with the synthetic biology-based patents. So the patents, they can be considered as a trade currency or lifeblood for the field of synthetic biology commercialization. And at the same time, we are also observing that open access is also favored among the scientists for certain aspects of synthetic biology. For example, we have BioBrick, we have BioFab, which is the world's first biological design built facility. It has the standard parts registry. So there we have the open access to the bioparts for creating the products. And also there is a discussion which needs to be done for the developing versus the developed nations. For example, we may be using a bioresource which is coming from a developing nation, and the synthetic biology tools are in fact employed in the developed nation. So what are the regimes? How would we take care of these regulations in this respect needs to be pondered. So what are the patentability issues which may emerge regarding the synthetic biology-based products? Would the products and processes meet the 3 patentability criteria? Do these designed organisms, they would also need to be deposited at some repository, just like we do it for the microorganisms right now? And what about the protection of the designer crops when they come into existence? Will there be any patent protection for them, or we will have protection under the Plant Variety Act, or there will be a broadening of scope of regulation for the GMO crops to include synthetic biology developed crops as well, or we will develop specific regulations or introduce a completely novel system for the protection of these designer crops. So coming to the standardization of the registries, which is very important with respect to the intellectual property regime, because the registry is something which consists of the bioparts and which are available for anyone to use, or the data sheets which can be available for anyone to use for synthetic biology purposes. So it is freely accessible, there's open source, and minimal genomes are created using these BioBricks registries, and the circuits are made. So IP regime probably will come into existence at this stage when the products are being made, that is the biomedicine, or when food additives, agriculture, or any other application which will come into existence. And at that time that the patents would come into existence. There are various issues which are related to synthetic biology, whether it will be always freely accessible, or it will be a paid access, or there will be a copyright protection for databases. The standard paths and protocols, what will be done for them, whether they will be always freely accessible, or again, there will be IP regime regulating them. However, the IP regime, since because of its inherent monopolistic nature, we have to ensure there is interoperability, there is accurate reproduction, and there is enhanced reliability. And above and all, it facilitates the exchange of information and does not inhibit the scientists to carry out the research which is associated with the benefit of the humankind in any ways. So while doing the balancing act between the pros and the cons of the synthetic biology, the IP regime has to keep in mind the biosecurity and the bioethical issues, and at the same time, the various other applications which synthetic biology may offer in very near future for the benefit of the mankind. This has to be kept in mind, and there are a few recommendations which I would like to make on this platform regarding the IP regime in synthetic biology that we must ensure that IPRs are not interfering with the basic research on understanding the phenomena of life. Just we have always kept that in the field of biotechnology. And the role of patent offices, whether there would be a separate category of patents, what would be the incentivization, if at all any. Also, what would be the role of the synthetic biology community? So as a stakeholder, whether they would like to go for patenting in part or completely, or licensing, or they will adopt or will be in favor of open IP strategies for the benefit of mankind, that remains to be assessed. However, the responsible research and innovation should remain the center stage for both the patent offices as well as the synthetic biology research community. Also, what would be the scenario of synthetic biology patenting regime in India is something which needs to be discussed. And especially it will be the Section 3, which will be influencing the grant of patents for the synthetic biology, specifically the Section 3D regarding novelty, traditional knowledge. And also, what about the examiner pool? Do we have sufficient examiners with the experience of understanding the depth or the insight of the synthetic biology? Do they appreciate the difference between the biotechnology and the synthetic biology? Also, there have been concerns related to conservation of biodiversity, whether we stand by the CBD stand on synthetic biology, and what about TRIPS, because itself TRIPS has no clarity or given any clarity regarding its stand on synthetic biology per se. So that also remains to be seen, as it would also influence intellectual property regime in India with respect to synthetic biology. So with this, I end my presentation. This is the slide which shows Craig Winter at the lead, and these are all the people who are involved in the synthetic biology-based research as well as commercialization. So they are the ones who are very active in patenting with respect to the synthetic biology in the various countries. So I thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.